Greetings, B-movie aficionados.
Hello, welcome to A Couple of Flicks. I am Tristan.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Zach.
And today we're celebrating a particular holiday. And because of that, we have decided to choose three secret films that we shall talk about on this episode. So,
Yeah, surprise.
Yeah.
It's not what you thought it was going to be. If you're following along.
Yeah. Every once in a while, it's good to kind of, jump the shark a little bit. So.
Throw a curveball.
Yeah. I'm never gonna complain about that. So, but happy 420,
Yeah. Yeah, buddy.
Yeah. Let's see. I guess before we talk about the films we picked for this episode, though, do you guys want to briefly share, or not brief? It doesn't have to be brief, but do you guys want to share anything that you've watched lately that you want to talk about?
I saw Godzilla vs. Kong. It was okay.
Excellent.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. A lot of meaningless plot in between the action.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's always the worst thing about all those movies.
I haven't seen any of them. Except for the Bryan Cranston one. Was that in the same universe? Or is that
I don't think so.
That's the last Godzilla movie I saw.
Yeah. I think it's separate. It has some of the same characters that it had in Godzilla King of the Monsters, which came out a few years ago, or like 3 years ago, however many years ago. But from what I understand, though, the Bryan Cranston one is more, even though it sort of takes place in the same universe, it's more or less it's just its own thing. So
I never saw that other one.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. It's just, the human stuff kind of just bogged it down a lot.
It's always the worst part of them, yeah.
Yeah. When I went to see Godzilla King of the Monsters in the theater, there's a scene where Vera Farmiga's character gets on this giant screen and starts talking about how the human race is trash. And she says the exact same speech that they've said in like a dozen of those movies. And I noticed that one of my friends who I was with left the theater at that point, and then came back roughly around the point that she was done, maybe a minute after she was done. And afterward, he was like, "Yeah, I've seen that speech in all these movies. I just didn't feel like hearing it this time."
Nice, that's good.
Yeah. But yeah, this one's related to the Skull Island one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Did you see that one?
I didn't see all of it, no.
Okay. Yeah, it was not good. Which was disappointing because it was by the guy that did Kings of Summer, which is a movie I really like, but it was kind of a lame movie overall. I wasn't crazy about it. So.
Did either of you see the Snyder Cut? It's a little dated now, but really, damn. Yeah,
I've been trying to kind of will myself to watch it, but I haven't quite gotten there yet. So
it's understandable. It's a long ass movie. 4 hours. Yeah, I saw the whole thing just because I was interested in it, and I don't like the DC universe or any of their superheroes or anything, or superhero movies in general. Kind of, I'll take them or leave them, but I was just more interested in the background stuff and how all the politics and whatnot went down. And it was a fine movie. For 4 hours it went by, and it was chaptered out, 6 or 7 chapters too, so it had some good break times. You could go to the bathroom, grab some snacks, that type of shit. So it wasn't Just flew by too for a 4-hour movie, and wasn't anything special, but I never saw the original Justice League either, so I can't compare it to it. So, but it was fine.
Well, I did see the original Justice League, so you can imagine.
Heard bad things.
It's pretty terrible.
Yeah, I don't remember half of it.
Yeah, like it's like the kind of movie that it felt like just a giant waste of time, and like the more it went on, the more it just felt pointless, and just I don't know. That was a rough one.
Yeah.
That was a really rough one. That might be my least favorite DC movie, actually, out of all these more recent ones, which is saying a lot because I know a lot of folks aren't really too crazy about them, but I don't know, that Justice League movie was just, I don't know, it felt like it just was not fun at all. I guess that would be the way I would describe it.
Yeah, and after seeing the 4-hour cut, I'm like, how could they turn this into a 2.5? Like, I would either think they would have to make it 2 movies or a 4-hour movie, because I mean, it was pretty well paced and well packed. They gave all the characters background and good time. I heard they cut out Cyborg basically from the entire first movie, and he's basically the main character of this 4-hour cut. So I'm just like,
wow,
how the hell did this first one go if Cyborg's not even in the first one when he's practically the main character of this one? So
yeah, his contra. I mean, I know he was in the original, but I remember literally almost nothing he did. Like,
yeah, apparently all he did was like fly in, say a few lines, and fly out. But in this one, he's basically in throughout the whole movie. So
that's so weird.
Okay.
Like,
yeah.
And then somebody was telling me that Zack Snyder wants to like release a new version that's in black and white or something, which is like,
I've heard that.
Like,
Yeah.
the thing is, like, I feel like he already kind of went overboard shifting the aspect ratio to 4:3.
Yeah, I was just about to mention that. That's funny too.
Oh, really?
Snyder being Snyder, I feel.
I guess so.
Yeah,
Like,
right. I didn't mind it just because, whatever. But of course, regular viewers, I'm sure, were like, what the fuck?
I mean, I'm trying to picture, because there were a lot of action scenes in Justice League. None that are memorable, but I'm just trying to picture like why they would shift it to 4:3, because you wouldn't really be seeing as much in 4:3. So just, I don't know, it just seems like a strange choice. Like, I didn't really understand that. I was like, and nobody these days really has 4:3 TV, except for folks who, really destined to hold on to their box TVs, like my dad. I mean, that's about the only folks I can think of that still watch movies like in like literal 4:3 sized screens. I don't mind when a movie is shot in 4:3. It just seems strange for a superhero movie to be,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah. And another just more recent movie I saw was Unhinged. By Russell Crowe's new movie ish. I think it's on Prime. Did either of you see that one?
No.
I have it saved.
It's interesting.
Yeah, the trailer made me laugh. Like, it made me laugh my ass. I really want to see that one, because Russell Crowe is just hilarious to me. Like, I'm just like, yes.
Especially now, he's a big boy now.
Yeah.
After like from Gladiator, from him being ripped to how he is now, it's like, damn, time has not been kind to you. But I mean, whatever, it's fine. But
yeah,
the movie itself was all right. It was just like a road rage. Russell Crowe's unhinged. He has road rage and terrorizes this girl.
Yeah, Road Rage the movie, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looked good.
Yeah, it was. I liked the whole thing, but it had a Hollywood ending, which I was a little disappointed in. But the premise was cool.
Yeah, like it looked like, I guess maybe I shouldn't say it looked good, but it looked like a fun horror. Like, it looked like something that would at least be entertaining. I guess
It was.
Is what I'm saying.
It definitely was. Yeah, just because of how crazy Russell Crowe was.
Yeah.
Straight up unhinged.
Yeah. Well, let's see. I guess as far as what I've watched, I mean, I haven't really. I've been watching the Oscar nominees, and
shit.
like, yeah, and like, I gotta say, I'm not really crazy about most of them. Like, so far the only one that I've thought was like really worth seeing, in my opinion, was Judas and the Black Messiah. I have not seen The Father yet. But I've seen, I think I've seen pretty much almost everything else. Let's see. I saw the Trial of Chicago 7, which was all right, but it didn't really like, I don't know. It wasn't really all that special in my opinion. Let's see. I saw Mank, which I wasn't crazy about. I saw Nomad Land, which I was disappointed with. Let's see. What else did I saw? Minari was all right. I that one was pretty good.
That's the one I want to. Yeah, that's the one I want to see the most.
Yeah, that one I would recommend. I enjoyed that one. And then what else did what else?
I like Steven Yeun.
He does a great job, and it is worth seeing. It's actually very like, it's an interesting story. You know, I do have some issues with it, but like, you know, it's worth watching. And then I'm trying to remember what else I watched that was nominated. I don't know. So far, like I said, I think Judas and the Black Messiah is the only one I actually thought was
that pretty, not Pretty Woman, but whatever.
Promising Young Woman.
Oh
yeah,
Promising Young Woman. That one was pretty good, but it kind of fell apart at the end a little bit. Like, the screenwriters and the directors and everybody, like, they wanted to sort of, I guess, introduce like some twists toward the end and kind of go more a little bit for the shock value, which worked for a while, but then like they kept on adding, then they added like another twist and then another twist, and then it was just like they went too far with it, and then it kind of ended up kind of becoming really lame, like in the last like 5 minutes or so. It just kind of all fell apart really in a sort of embarrassing way. And
that was the other one I wanted to see. Yeah, that one and Judas and the Black Messiah or whatever.
Yeah,
those three.
Judas and the Black Messiah is definitely worth watching, and I think you saw that one too, Zach, right?
Yeah.
That one was good. But yeah, and Promising Young Woman was good for the most part. And Carey Mulligan did a really good job. You know, it wasn't my favorite role of hers, but you know, she did a good job in it. But it just sort of fell apart for me in the last act, you know, just not for any like specific reason, more because it just stopped being believable, I guess is the way I feel, you know. And it's like, for a movie that kind of relied on the realism, like up to that point, it just seemed really stupid to just sort of end it in like a fancy, like cheesy, dumb way that just was lame and boring, you know. And then Sound of Metal was also like pretty good, but it wasn't as good as I was hoping it would be. Again, like the lead performance was excellent, and like it was well done, and sound design was good. But again, it just kind of ended up sort of falling into kind of like the same issue that Promising Young Woman had. It sort of went in a little bit of an easier kind of direction. And it's like, damn, you know, because like, and also like there's sort of an issue, I guess, with the message. Like, I don't mind the message. It's sort of exploring how like, it's sort of exploring the controversy in the deaf community surrounding the implants, because some people are against that. And so it was sort of exploring that issue a little bit. And I felt like there were things they could have done a little bit better, you know, in regards to like that side of things. Cause I actually do know deaf people who are affected by that sort of thing and have like really strong opinions. And so when I watched the movie, I couldn't really help but like think of them and like sort of like what their perspective is. And just like, I guess what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of perspectives on this idea. And I felt like Sound of Metal like did a pretty good job for the most part at showing like a particular perspective, but then it sort of whittled it down to being just the only perspective. And I don't know. I would have preferred something a little bit more broad, I guess, personally. And then let's see, Nomad Land, even though I like Frances McDormand, it just felt really diluted. Like after the first half an hour, because like the first half an hour of that movie, Nomad Land, it kind of made it seem like it was going to be something really interesting, because it's about this woman whose husband, he dies of cancer, and then she ends up falling into a lot of financial troubles, and she ends up homeless and living in her van and traveling around and trying to kind of reestablish herself. And so that's kind of how like the first half an hour started. But then after that, it just kind of became about nothing. Like she works at Amazon. She gets involved with some other guy and his family, and then some other person and their family. And then like, it just kind of ended up going nowhere. And then it ended. And I was like, damn, that's kind of a disappointment. Like, I don't know. I'll watch it again. I think the hype might have killed it for me a little bit, because a lot of people were telling me that it was like the best movie ever. I don't know. I wasn't really crazy about it personally, but
yeah, Frances McDormand's always good. So
yeah,
but, you never know, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. It just didn't connect with me, I guess. Like, and I was really like, I was in the right mood for it. I feel like, I don't know. Maybe it just isn't my kind of movie. Oh well, her life ain't no fairy tale. But speaking of fairy tales,
oh shit! Look at you go.
You see that transition? I thought I was pretty clever doing that one.
That was a good one. Yeah.
So, the first movie we're going to talk about is your choice, Nick.
Yeah, it is. Hansel and Gretel Get Baked.
Which I don't mean to like derail, but actually, upon thinking about the title more and more, I thought about like the story of Hansel and Gretel, and how like it's about like a witch who wants to she wants to bake a couple siblings in an oven. And so I thought like maybe this is the movie where she finally succeeds, because it's about Hansel and Gretel getting baked. And that was just a thought that I had after I watched the
movie. I don't know much about the I mean, is it a Grimm story tale?
Yeah, Grimm's fairy tale.
I know that, a witch wants to eat kids, and then the trail of breadcrumbs is where that whole whatever trope thing comes from. Is that little story, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, you nailed it.
That's about all I know.
Yeah, they have to leave the house because they're either. You see, I'm not even sure if it's their mom or their stepmom, but she decides that she doesn't want to take care of them anymore, and so they ditch the kids in the woods. But like the kids already know, because the kids are smart, and they overheard their stupid parents talking about it, so they leave a trail of breadcrumbs. But then the crows end up picking them off. And then they wind up at a gingerbread house, and a witch wants to cook them, and then they end up outsmarting the witch, and then they get on the back of a swan and go home.
Huh. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
you knew more about it than I did.
Yeah.
So this is a stoner take on it. I mean, I guess I'll start off with Gretel's a stoner girl. She's, getting high with her boyfriend. With this, I'm assuming in the story tale was like the forest. They get lost in the Black Forest.
Yeah,
I'm assuming is what it's called in the story tale. So
I'm gonna guess. Yeah.
So the strain of weed that they're smoking is called Black Forest, and yeah, I mean. They run out. They got the munchies. They're gonna make some gingerbread cookies. Haha.
Yeah, or gingerweed, I guess in this case, maybe.
Yeah, but they're out of weed. So Gretel's boyfriend goes to the dealer, who is Agnes.
Yeah, Laura Flynn Boyle.
Yeah, she's the only actress I heard of. I don't know really what she's done, but I've definitely heard her name.
Yeah, I think she's in this, and then Carrie Elways is in this in one scene,
Yeah.
which was actually really funny. But it's Anyway, go on.
I don't know who that is. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll talk about that.
And then, and then Hansel is her brother. She's some type of photographer. I don't know, or he is. It's about it. It's about it for those two. That's all I can, like, a stoner girl and the photographer brother.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Much,
yeah,
generic stoner, generic photographer, and that's kind of the most you get. They're kind of just more defined by their behavior than anything else.
Yep. They're out of the Black Forest weed. The boyfriend, what was it? Fucking, I don't remember his name. starts with
a generic
Ashton.
name.
Ashton.
Okay.
Yeah. He goes to pick up some more from the witch Agnes, who's an old. I mean, you could tell from the very start she's an old lady makeup, really bad old lady makeup too. It was like, ew.
Yeah.
It's just not good looking at all.
Yeah. When I saw her makeup, I thought the rest of the movie was going to be a comedy. But
yeah.
Then
Right.
it didn't end up being that.
No, it's a horror. Yeah, it's a stoner horror, more horror than anything else. So he tries to get more weed, but she, I don't know, knocks him out somehow with, I don't know, laced weed, or I forget. She uses different variations of knocking people out with like tea and shit throughout the movie. And then he wakes
up and he's like chained up or something.
Yeah, he wakes up, he's chained on a bed, and he's like, pleading for his life. And at first he thinks he wants to that the witch wants to, like, have her way with him sexually. So he's like, yeah, you can blow me, but that's it. And then she said, oh, I think I'll just eat you. And he was like, you mean like swallow? Okay. That's weird, but okay. And then she fucking stabs him in the eye, and just was like, oh shit, when I saw that. Nice eye stabbing, and then like eats the eye straight up. And
it was pretty gruesome. I was like, whoa, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, this movie ain't messing around.
Nope. It's got some gore effects in this throughout.
Yeah, pretty decent ones too. Like,
yeah. She feeds, I don't know, she eats some of his leg, I guess. I don't know, he has a body parts chopped off. Feeds some of them to her dog. She has like a hellhound type dog. Yeah. I mean, but she keeps him alive for a little while at least.
Yeah. What did you think of the dog's performance, by the way?
It was fine, I guess.
Yeah.
Just growled a bunch. There was one kind of weird-ish scene where, I mean, later on, way later, the dog's chasing someone through, the maze, but it was like right on it was like, you could, like, the dog was almost passing him at some points when they're, doing a chase. So I was like, I don't know. Like, not that great of a chase scene, but
yeah.
Oh yeah, and I guess it may have been because he ate some of the gingerbread, a gingerbread house. That may have been what knocked him out, because she told him not to eat it. But he found like Nazi stuff in there, and like other people's IDs and shit. It was like,
yeah.
So you get that she's probably been around a while.
Yeah, we start putting two and two together.
Yeah.
Which wasn't hard. I mean, it is called Hansel and Gretel. Although the one issue I kind of had with this movie, though, well, I mean, I guess it's not really that much of an issue when you compare it to, like, well, okay, that's not important, but like, I kind of felt like she wasn't really much of a witch. She kind of was more of a vampire.
Yeah.
I know, yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, she didn't suck the blood, but she sucked the soul essence of them, I guess, is what she was doing. I mean,
she didn't perform any spells or anything like witches do. She didn't like turn anybody into toads or anything. Or did she?
But
I mean,
she she controlled some like the weed. You know, she like that's how she trapped Gretel later. She made the weed grab her, and she did the thing with the hose with that one dude. And
oh yeah, okay, I forgot about that.
She did a little bit of magic, I guess.
Yeah,
not too much. Yeah, she was mostly like most of her kills were like just stabbings and shit.
Yeah.
So, so yeah,
I was like, okay,
all right, yeah. Gretel's on the search for her boyfriend that's now been missing because he's been gone a while and he's supposed to come back with the weed so they can eat them cookies. And I thought, like, while she was on the search, she ran into some kids. I thought a little funny scene was like, they're just like, "Up yours, lady." And she was like, "What are you talking? Why don't talk like that?" And like there was two kids, and the older one was like, "Sorry about him. He's gotta remember he's only 5, but also screw you."
Oh yeah, I'd like to apologize for my brother, but also screw you or whatever.
Yeah.
That was pretty funny. Yeah.
So she's on the hunt. Yeah, on the hunt for him. She goes to their dealer, which is I don't know, his name is Manny, I guess, or something like that. And she lets him know that where Agnes lives, she goes there. I forget the first time she goes there alone, right? Or does she go there with her brother?
I think she goes there by herself. From what I remember,
Gretel Hansel does give her a ride. My notes say so.
Right, but did he go in with her though? I can't remember.
Yeah, eventually she went in first. She was
that's it.
Because he was looking for a parking spot. He was like, "Oh, I almost had to park in Colorado to get here." And she kept trying to
kind of a timely joke, I guess.
Yeah, she was trying to get him to drink tea to make her pass out, but Hansel showed up right in the nick of time before she took that first sip, and she's like, "Oh no, it's probably cold by now." And she basically just ushers them out that time.
Okay.
And, there's a little side, and I mean, so nothing happens with the first time. Just Gretel's a little suspicious.
Yeah.
Old lady, which I'd be too, because of how she looks, all maked up. Like, this doesn't look like an old lady.
Yeah, she looks like some kind of false identity person.
Yeah.
It's like somebody wearing like a face plaster to try and disguise their identity or something like that.
Pretty much. She's just acting weird anyway. And then there's this little tiny subplot with like an electrician. Like in the very beginning of the movie, like the first scene was an electrician getting eaten. Because he noticed that the power wattage was like through the roof, and then he looked down under the basement and saw weed growing, and he's like, "Aha! I knew it." And then he just gets like sucked in through like a basement window, fucking like it in a sewer type scenario kind of thing.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, but I don't know why they really had to do that, because it was like 5 minutes screen time total with this whole electrician subplot.
Yeah, he really didn't even need to be in the movie, but
yeah,
just a cameo. Carrie Ellis,
pretty much, So
yeah, he looked familiar. I didn't know who he was, but he looked familiar.
It's Dr. Gordon from Saw.
Yeah,
there
you go. Yeah, he's in like Princess Bride and like what was that Jim Carrey movie? I know he was in like a Jim Carrey movie, and then he was also in Twister. He played like the douchebag rival tornado chaser, which, I mean, the more I think about Twister, the more the plot just gets dumber and dumber. But he was like the guy who gets like killed by the spoilers for people who haven't seen Twister. He's the guy who gets killed by the tornado at the end.
Oh, very descriptive of that movie. So,
Oh yeah, and then also isn't there like a subplot about like the oh wait, no, never mind. That's a little later. Never mind. Go on. Sorry for
Okay.
interrupting.
No worries. They call the cops since nothing happened there. They tried to question her, but
Oh
you know,
yeah, that was kind of a really weird dose of realism because like it was pretty much just about like okay, if you haven't actually witnessed anything or don't have any proof, then we're not interested, like that kind of
yeah.
thing, which is unusual because like a lot of times like I don't know, in the past people like the cops used to be a lot harder about that kind of thing. So, but
Yeah, and it was played off because her boyfriend had some
that's
possession
right.
charges or whatever. So they're like, oh, he's just another stoner, whatever. And
Yeah.
this, I guess, I'm assuming was also this also takes place in the period of where weed was semi-legal in California, like medicinal. People were generally anyone who wanted to smoke it could, but it still wasn't I think, if I can remember correctly, it wasn't recreational in this movie yet, but it was basically recreational through medical, whatever. That was the legality of weed in this movie, I'm pretty sure. So that's why they were like, well, is she having an intent to sell? And then Hansel was like, yeah, she's selling, but they weren't snitching. They couldn't snitch on people. So they couldn't, give them probable cause to search the old lady's place.
Yeah, I think at one point she's like, "Didn't Manny say so?" And then it's like, "Who's Manny?" And it's like one of those kinds of.
Yeah,
like,
he's like, "Oh, nobody." Speaking of Manny, yes, he's their dealer, and he gets, after all of this, he gets confronted by a group of gangsters, because he's their middleman or whatever, their street guy selling their weed, but he hasn't been selling their weed. He's been selling Agnes's weed, which gets him in trouble. He gets I don't know why they send him back over, just to warn her, I guess, warn the witch. And
I think so. Yeah, that's which I can't remember exactly why, but
which
yeah,
at this it's definitely, I think, just to warn her, that stop selling on our turf kind of shit. And at this point she's a little younger, still looks oldish because he still recognizes her as the witch, or as Agnes, who he bought from, but she definitely has less makeup at this point because she sucked the life of the boyfriend at this point.
I was gonna say she looked exactly the same except she had less plaster on her face.
Yeah. So and she takes it was fun, like she takes the cell phone from the Manny guy and like sends a text message to the dealers, like calls them a pretty derogatory word.
Yeah, that part kind of.
Like,
that part kind of confused me a little bit because it did. Well, now that you're explaining it, it makes sense. But when I was watching it, I was like, yeah. Anyway, go on. But sorry.
Yeah. Nope. But Manny gets killed. Forget. I think he just gets his neck cut. I think that's the only way he dies.
Yeah, it's pretty fast. Just kind of like a kind of generic throat slit, which was again gruesome, but
Yep. And then people, the drug dealers show up to the witch's place, I guess. Was the net because like it's a little running joke eventually that like people keep just knocking on her door and she's like, God damn it. At the end of the movie, eventually she's like, oh, what now? But this time it's the drug dealers coming to intimidate her, and this time she's a lot younger, from sucking Manny's soul. She's like, oh, we're looking for an old lady, but you're a hot younger lady.
that was Yeah, I think that like by that point, you know, I mean, it was at the point that like Hansel and Gretel were more or less like pretty much ready to kind of like go for it, you know. So,
Yeah, yeah.
by the way, do you want to like take care of your dog right now?
Possibly. Can you hear that?
Yeah, well, a little bit, but I mean, it's not distracting me. But if it's distracting you, I mean, I can imagine it's distracting you. So,
No, I was not. It's good now. It's good now.
oh, okay,
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I was just trying to make sure she wouldn't keep going. Okay.
Yeah,
But I think my mom's calming her down. So. Oh, okay. Yeah. So the gangsters are there. She is, has a gun to her head. And she takes them down to the grow cellar, which was a pretty impressive one. I guess like there's like the part where she killed the boyfriend was she explains, oh, this used to be a mortician place or whatever. And then she leads them to where she's growing, which is a huge ass. It's a bomb shelter, I guess, that she converted into a grow room, and it's huge. It's fucking gigantic. And
yeah, it's pretty impressive, actually.
Yep. And then she just starts killing them off. Which I think the coolest death was the main guy of the movie was the main guy's death. The main gangster, I mean. She enchanted a hose to hang him up, and then she like spigots him like from like a garden hose spigot type thing, and turns the faucet on, and blood's just dripping into the just a bucket.
Yeah, that was messed up.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a sucker for the and I don't know why I am, because I know a lot of people find these kinds of death scenes really annoying, but I'm always a sucker for failed rescue scenes. Like I love the scene in The Shining involving the failed rescue, and then also the scene in House of a Thousand Corpses with the police officers and that one girl's father getting slaughtered by the Firefly clan. And this movie had sort of a really brief one of those with the two cops, although that was more toward the end, I guess. But... oh, my cat's barging in.
Speaking of animals.
Yeah.
Then the one, I don't know, really, there was two. One guy gets chased by the dog, which was that chase scene I was talking about, into a cage in the middle of the Black Forest. Because at this point they kind of make the direct allusion to that, this forest of weed is like the Black Forest in the fairy tale.
Yeah.
And then the big guy, the bigger gangster, he finds Manny, who's a zombie now. So like I guess the people she takes the life force from turns into zombies, and he fights them off, pushes them off the edge, but then she just stabs him in the head with something. I don't know what. So he's dead.
The zombie thing would have been cool if they elaborated on that a little bit.
Yeah, she just had a bunch of zombie henchmen throughout, and she was telling them to sick him, get him. She just like, whatever, get him.
Yeah, if they'd appeared throughout, that would have been like really interesting. But I don't know. They wanted to save it for the end, I guess. So.
Yep. So that's basically that part of the movie where the gangsters try to intimidate her, but end up failing. Yeah. The only one left alive is the guy in the cage. Then we get back to the whole, which is, I guess it took a little bit to get back to Gretel and them. Hansel and Gretel.
Yeah.
Little side detour of that movie. She's walking down the street, and notices that Manny, the street drug dealer that we met, her girlfriend's also looking for Manny, and they put two and two together that the last place they were both seen were at Agnes's or whatever. So they team up. They devise a little plan to do some B&E, some breaking and entering.
And they even say that out loud too.
Yeah, yeah. That was dumb. Yeah.
It was pretty dumb, but
The drug dealer girlfriend. I don't remember her name. She's the distraction. She's, I guess, like, she goes in, oddly is flirting with her because she's again younger. She keeps getting younger throughout the movie, and at this point she's like, is it getting hot here or is it just the weed? And she undoes her blouse, and I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? And it's like working too, and I'm like, what? Why?
Yeah. I was surprised that they were trying it. I mean,
yeah, it was funny.
it was actually. I mean,
because she started like sucking on the girl, like the witch started sucking on the finger too, and like,
yeah, like it was definitely absurd, but I don't know. At that point, it kind of worked. I mean, it was.
yeah,
I mean, it was, but it was kind of like, oh god, like this again.
Yeah, and it was. And this was all taking place while Gretel was breaking in, like, into the basement looking for people.
Yeah.
She of course made noise, as they do in these movies. Then,
yeah, it's like, oh shoot, oops, like
right. So then, like, she knocks out the girlfriend to go deal with Gretel. Which brings us to the part where the breadcrumbs come in. She hears the dude in the cage, the gangster that was stuck in the cage, and then she's like, whistle, and to locate him. And then she has a bag of Skittles that she, places instead of breadcrumbs to get out. Because it is like that Black Forest maze. It's like she places the thing of Skittles.
Yeah. Although, unfortunately, because this is a weed-themed movie, it also means that a particular somebody gets a case of the munchies.
Right. Yeah. The girlfriend's, running from her, and then trips and lands in front of a Skittle and is like, ooh, a Skittle. Okay. Yummy. Taste the rainbow.
Like, they're so specifically placed, you'd think like it wouldn't have been a smart, but maybe she was so stoned that she didn't really think about that.
Yeah. She took a few hits upstairs, so she had the munchies.
Yeah. I mean, it is possible to be that stoned where you look at the ground and see a trail of Skittles, and you don't think about the fact that it's a trail. You just think about the fact that it's Skittles.
Yeah.
And then you don't think about the fact that they're on the ground, and then it's like, oh yeah, wait, did I eat those?
All right. So yeah, eventually Gretel gets captured by the weed maze closing in on her because witch stuff.
Yeah.
Bianca was the girl.
That's it.
name.
Yeah.
She's
That's
also
a cool
captured. Name. Yeah. So they're all captured now in that cage.
Mm-hmm. Which I knew was going to happen as soon as I saw that cage.
Right.
Like, oh yeah, it's big enough to fit the whole cast in. So.
Okay, so during, I guess, the next part would be that she sucks the life of the gangster in front of them and grows younger, and they're like, "What the fuck? She's a witch."
Something about the way you said that was funny.
What the fuck? That's how it went down.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
And then Hansel finally shows up too because I don't know. Gretel left him a message on his computer that she's going back. And then he gets captured. He's like, he shows up. He's like, "Oh, is your mom around?" Because she's normal, no makeup at this point. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. And I was looking for Agnes, and I don't know. He gets lured in there too. He gets slabbed on that table. I missed how they got out of the cage. I know they put the dog to sleep because she set the dog to guard him, and she was like, "Oh, it's like a Cerberus dog. If you sing to it, it'll go to sleep." And did they get that? Because I know she was after the keys, but she got captured. I don't know if she got the keys. I guess she must have to get out.
Because
somehow they get out of the
actually,
cage.
now that
I don't remember either.
Yeah, what happened?
They put the dog to sleep and somehow get out of the cage. The two girls.
Yeah,
I think the two. I forget if they both make it out of the cage. Yeah.
So it's, I don't know. Too stoned.
They definitely both got out of the cage because they save. They find Hansel strapped to the thing as they were making the escape, and then Bianca gets she's standing in front of the door saying, "Come on, let's go," and falls down, and the witch is holding her heart. And
I remember that part.
Yeah, that's how she dies. And was that before or after the cops? I don't remember exactly.
I think it was
after. Okay, yeah. So eventually the cops do show up, and that's when she gives that exasperated, "Oh, what the fuck is this now? Who is this now?" She doesn't even she just opens the door and just blasts them. That's all she does. She's
and then that was so interesting. I don't know. That was my favorite scene in the movie because I don't know, something about casually killing people and then just moving on as if it was nothing. There's no better way to demonstrate your villainy than just casual murder,
Yeah, because she had other shit she was dealing with. She had 3 people running amok down in her grow room, so she had had no time for this. I ain't got no time.
I ain't gonna waste time with the cops, Fuck them. Die. Boom. The end.
But that's almost basically the end of the movie, really. She saves Hansel, they get out. There's a little fight scuffle that I blinked and missed. Somehow the witch gets. It's
not even. You're lucky you missed it.
I was watching and I was like, wait, now the witch is inside the cremator.
Yeah, it was really stupid. That's kind of when the movie fell apart for me.
Yeah, the very last 5 minutes was just rushed to hell. She saved her brother, pushed the witch in the cremator. And then they're outside.
Yep. And then that's pretty much the end of the movie.
And the cops lived as well because they were wearing Kevlar.
Yeah, which I was a little disappointed by. Not because I advocate cop killing or anything like that, but just because it would have made the character more villainous. It would have been a good twist.
The cops were also assholes as well. At least the guy cop was a douche. The guy cop was definitely a douche.
Yeah, I think that it would have been better if they had just left them dead. It's sad. It's a horror movie. Sorry.
Yep. And then the little ending was there was a black cat out in the street, and the electrician general manager guy, that I guess that's the whole point of this subplot was him. He takes the black cat. He's like, "Oh, you're cute." Takes him into the car, and then murder sounds, and then you see Agnes or whatever adjusting the rearview mirror, and her face is in the mirror.
Yeah.
Credits. She's still alive.
Yeah. And Hansel and Gretel.
They're still alive. Yep. They make it out unscathed.
They got baked.
They did.
But not for breakfast.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess that's pretty much it, I guess. I don't know. Was there much else to it, really?
No.
Okay.
It ends real fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, It was a pretty simple little horror stoner movie, or stoner horror, whatever the genre is. It's like, yeah, Hansel and Gretel, Laura Flynn Boyle being a vampire, kind of, and there's a black cat stuff, so I guess that's kind of a witch thing. And then so there's an oven where she cooks people, but it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's cremates them mostly.
Yeah, that's about it, really.
For fertilizer.
Yeah. I mean, I was entertained by it, maybe because I was in the right state of mind for it, but
yeah, I said I gave it 3 stars, which is, I guess, all things considered, fairly high, but just because I thought it was an interesting take on the Hansel and Gretel's story. I mean, it was well shot and well acted as well.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, it was you could tell the folks who were the folks who made it, they actually were trying to kind of aim for a little bit of mood here and there. I mean, they didn't go overboard with it. They kept it a little bit low key, like a suburban nightmare type of tale. And I don't know, I felt like the darkness was appropriately dispensed overall.
Yep. Yeah, it was the pluses, or that, but it was just an original, a plain kind of horror movie, just
Yeah.
And then the lame ending as well was my other negative, but yeah, 3 stars from me.
Yeah, the ending is really what keeps me from liking it more. I mean, I think if you take out when you think about it, all the weed stuff isn't really necessary to the plot. There could have been a million other different ways for them to have shown up at our house, but I like the fact that they went in that direction because it was a little bit unusual. If you take that stuff out, and you fix the ending, I feel like this would be kind of an ideal sort of starter pack horror movie, I guess you could say. like you said, it is kind of a plain movie, and it doesn't break too many of the cliches. I felt like it played a little bit too safe at times. I feel like it could have been a little bit more nasty and mean-spirited, especially because of some of the earlier scenes. I was hoping that they would kind of keep that dark momentum going.
Yeah.
Yeah. But overall, I didn't mind it. I'd give it a 2 to a 3. I'm kind of divided. Really, the ending is the main kind of thing that I think hinders it the most. Because if it had ended in a really shocking way, where maybe Hansel and Gretel actually did get baked.
Yeah.
I mean, that would have been a cool ending.
Right.
But overall, if you're looking for a kind of gory enough.
That's not all right. It had all right kills, I guess.
Yeah, not the best.
One or two good ones, but other ones were cliche, boring. But
yeah, the ones that were good were you could tell they did do really a lot of work with, and it was effective. It was effective in its own way. So
yeah,
I just I would have preferred more. So
definitely, yeah.
I gave it a 2. I had seen this one before, but I did not enjoy it as much as I did the first time I saw it.
Really? Nice.
Yeah. But yeah, I just wanted a little more from it. I think it would have been better if it was in an actual forest, not in just one location in a house.
Yeah, like a forest of weed.
Yeah. And maybe some more fairy tale elements too.
Yeah. The witch stuff wasn't that great.
Agreed. But at least she turned into a cat. We got that. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
Speaking of cats.
Oh shit! Look at you. Oh, you're on a roll, man. Holy shit.
Okay, so my pick, and I guess this would be the second animated film we've done is the 1972 Ralph Bakshi picture Fritz the Cat, which is based on the comic strip by R. Crumb, which, you know, by the way, just to kind of quickly mention, I did sort of glimpse through like some of the like what like the comic strip was like, and just to kind of compare and contrast, and I don't know, that seemed a little bit different from this, but I'll talk about why, you know, as we get into this. But the reason I chose this one is because, well, for a few reasons. I chose it because I heard it was a good stoner movie. I chose it because I sort of faintly I'd seen it like a long time ago. At I think my dad or somebody was having like a party, and it was on, and that's how I saw it. And so I probably didn't watch it in the most ideal environment, and so I was kind of curious to just revisit it. And also I was basically a kid when I saw it. I was pretty young.
Geez.
and I like, none of it made any sense to me. It just seemed like really strange and weird, and I just remember like a lot of sex and drugs and just not really knowing what the hell was going on.
That's, yeah. I mean, that's how I felt watching it this time too. I was like, what the fuck am I watching?
Yeah, I mean, this movie is and you know, I actually, when we were talking about doing a 420 episode, I thought that I was thinking about being really cruel and choosing something that was like really trippy and fucked up, like the Holy Mountain. Like, I was tempted to choose that one. And I was also tempted to choose Climax, which is a horror movie about people having a bad trip. But I decided to be nice this time and choose Fritz the Cat. But I don't know, like, after watching it, maybe that wasn't the right choice either. This was pretty out there.
Yeah. And like, you messaged us when you were watching it, you're like, it's all I can say is it's classy.
Yeah.
And that was through my mind the entire time watching. I was like, okay, this is so classy.
Yeah, I didn't know how else to describe it because it was very 70s. Like,
very 70s.
Yeah.
yeah. Like uncomfortably 70s.
Yes.
There's like a million things that happen in this movie. I don't even know where to begin. It starts off like he's on a campus. I don't know, maybe it'd be a better idea to read the plot summary actually, because I'm not even quite. I think I know, like, I could probably piece it together, but I know I'm gonna miss something. So I don't know. Do you want to read the plot summary and like we kind of just respond to it? Because like that might be just a better way to do it. It's one of those types of movies. So.
That works. Got it pulled up. All right.
Okay.
In the 60s, at Washington Square Park in Manhattan, hippies have gathered with guitarists to sing protest songs. The titular anti-hero of the story, named Fritz, a cat, and his buddies show up in an attempt to meet girls.
So I guess just to kind of I guess give this a little bit of a prologue. This is the first X-rated, from what I understand, animated movie, and the general plot concerns you know, a cat, like an anthropomorphic cat who does drugs and has a lot of sex. That's kind of the basic premise, but the plot itself is very complex.
Yeah, it had a its own song too, or whatever, theme song. Or
Yeah.
one of the lines is just like, he's friends with all the guys and gets with all the women, kind of.
Yeah. I mean, right from minute one, you know what language they're speaking. You know, it's just it's the skeezy X-rated cartoon style like thing. You know,
which I didn't even know they made back in the 70s. I guess I thought cartoons were more sacred back then. I guess not.
Yeah, not in this case.
Yeah, now adult cartoons are all over, but
yeah, these days it's actually in some ways like more daring when you don't do an adult cartoon, you
Yeah.
know, because like a lot of the most like acclaimed cartoons that exist these days, you know, like Rick and Morty and things like that, are really geared more for like adults and or at least that kind of mindset. So so in a way this movie was pretty ahead of its time, you know, for the early 70s. Yeah. But
I guess.
yeah. Well, I mean, only because I can't really think of anything else like it that was made around the time other than maybe like Dirty Duck.
Yeah.
And maybe some Japanese anime too, but
Right. Yeah.
so yeah, campus.
When a trio of attractive women walk by, Fritz and his friends exhaust themselves trying to get their attention, but find that the girls are more interested in the crow standing a few feet away. The girls attempt to flirt with the crow, making unintentionally condescending remarks about black people, while Fritz looks on in annoyance.
Okay, yeah. And didn't the crow... There was something the crow said that actually made me laugh really hard. I was like, holy crap. Like, I don't remember what he said, but like, it was... Okay, so, all right. So yeah, this movie does have a little bit of a head on its shoulders. Because the crow characters in this movie are supposed to represent like Black community, and right at the like within the first 5 minutes of the movie, you see a group of college girls doing something that really people on both sides of the political spectrum are guilty of doing, which is like being condescending about like what the plot summary said, essentially, talking to somebody of a different race, less out of acceptance and more because you want to sort of push what you want them to be or what you feel like they are in your mind, as if like your opinion is supposed to be like the be all end all or whatever. Yeah. It's kind of one of those sort of things, you know,
and like them trying to be allies, but really just trying to make themselves look good, and they just...
Yeah, exactly. Which I feel like when people do that, it tends to alienate a lot of folks who are in like minority groups, and it definitely happens to Black people. So
yeah, and the crow saw right there. He was just like, "Screw you, ladies," or something. I know what you mean when he said something funny before he flew off. But,
he's like, "Yo, I ain't no jive ass."
Yeah,
like, I forget exactly what he
jive ass word you can't say.
Yeah. And like it was funny because they were flirting with him and stuff, and they were trying to like, but he kind of said it in a really like in an he didn't have like because I think they were expecting him to have like a deep voice, and they were expecting him to kind of like, you know, be like all intimidating and stuff, and instead he ended up kind of being more like, oh no, I'm not that kind of way, like not expected,
because he was like more brooding. His head was down the whole time, and it was like a couple minutes of them like, you know, saying stupid shit, and then eventually he speaks up and just like, you know, just typical.
Just talked about like just saying some stuff about like reading all of James Baldwin's works and all that stuff, but then not like providing any context and all that.
Yeah, and one of them said, yeah, the closest to the blacks is the Jews, and I'm Jewish.
That was funny. I actually like this movie made me laugh a lot, actually.
Yeah.
So.
Like because of the time it was made into, I couldn't tell if it was being racist or just like, and I don't know who made it either, so I couldn't tell if it was being racist or saying something about, or like what the fuck. Yeah. You know,
well, I mean, in the 70s it was hard to tell, and in the 60s it was hard to tell too. So the way I see it,
satire, that's the word I was looking for.
Oh yeah.
Sorry. An easy word I couldn't think of.
I mean, there are some satiric elements to this movie, but I would say because of the time it was made in, and because these issues were they were all sort of inhabiting a really gray area, I'd say ultimately, like, if the movie inspires discussion, then I guess it doesn't really matter, you know. But we're
discussing it here.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, we've already spent 5 minutes talking about the first 5 minutes. And this movie was about 72 minutes long. So if we aren't careful, this review is going to end up being 72 minutes long as well. So right. I shall try not to dwell too much on every single thing. But this movie actually did give me a lot to think about, though, even though it was an X-rated cartoon.
Was it actually X-rated or?
Yeah, I mean, I looked it up, and I mean, as time went on, I think people were like, okay, the X rating doesn't really mean anything anymore. So I think these days it's considered like unrated or NC-17 or something.
NC-17 is what it says on the wiki.
It definitely probably like I think it may have had the most boobs of any movie we've seen on this podcast so far.
Yeah, I think
they were animated.
There were boobs in pretty much almost every other minute of the movie. It felt like.
I mean, characters were just having nip slips all the time, just randomly.
Yeah. Like even characters that weren't even important.
Yeah, exactly. There was one visual too of Fritz just walking down like a hallway that was made of boobs. I was like, just that one frame alone was more boobs than we've seen in the entire movies we've done.
Yeah, no, this movie is boob central. I mean, you want boobs, you got them. They're illustrated, 2D, mind you, hand drawn, but
on animals as well.
Oh yeah, that too. Anthropomorphic animals as well. Yeah, which I mean, might appeal to some folks, but I don't know. It wasn't really my cup of tea, but it doesn't mean I'm not offended by it or anything. But it's like, yeah. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, they were talking to the guy. Yeah.
Suddenly, the crow rebukes the girls with a snide remark, indicates that he is gay, and walks away. Fritz laughs at this and then invites the girls to seek the truth, bringing them up to his friend's apartment where a wild party is taking place. Okay. Since the other rooms are crowded, Fritz drags the girls into the bathroom, and the four of them have an orgy in the bathtub.
Yeah, so this is about at the 10-minute mark.
This is where I was like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, and they go for it. I mean, it's just like sex scene after sex scene. Like when they say that this cat does drugs and has sex, like, yeah, that's mostly all he does.
Yeah, he does get with the women.
Yeah, I mean, at one point he accidentally starts a race riot, but that's later on.
A race war, honestly.
Yeah. But yeah, the sex scenes were good. The three-way was funny. Like and then more characters kind of gradually sort of gather up, and
the whole party just joins into the tub. Yeah.
Yeah, and at that point he kind of just sits back in a state of dissatisfaction, so he just decides to smoke more weed. And then all the other characters do the same while they're having sex. It's pretty funny. It inspires some pretty funny dialogue, actually.
Yeah, and I noticed there was just one guy too in the corner reading a book while everyone else was in the bathtub having an orgy.
Yeah, that was great. Let's see. There was an aardvark who got depressed because he didn't feel the weed. Like the effects of the weed, and like
yeah, he was like, how do I know if I'll feel it? Oh, you'll know.
Yeah. And then when he doesn't, she kind of like comforts him, and I don't know, that was a surprisingly emotional, strange little comedic moment.
Meanwhile, two bumbling police officers portrayed as pigs, of course.
Yep.
Yeah, how could they not be?
Yeah. Portrayed as pigs, one of them Jewish, arrived to raid the party. As they walk up the stairs, one of the partygoers finds Fritz and the girls in the bathtub. Several others jump in, pushing Fritz to the side, where he takes solace in marijuana. The two officers break into the apartment, but find that it's empty because everyone has moved into the bathroom. Fritz takes refuge in the toilet when the Jewish pig enters the bathroom and begins to beat up the partygoers.
Oh yeah, that's surprisingly kind of brutal. The cops were sort of taking some liberties, which.
Yeah, for the 70s, it was like your stereotypical cop beatings, and then one of the cops too was having his way with one of the party goers.
Oh yeah, that one girl who was so stoned that she didn't even care, but like he like kind of picked her up and started basically just fondling her and doing his thing, and she was just kind of giggling and laughing, and it was like, I guess that's the 60s for you, but it was just kind of unusual because it was a cop. But, well,
yeah.
And of course the size difference sort of made it a little uncomfortable to look at, but again, it's animated, so that's how it goes. This movie actually, okay, this is going to be a weird comparison, but this movie actually kind of reminded me a little bit of Zootopia, like as far as like how they were kind of establishing like the social structures of the different animal species. Like, I mean, it wasn't like the same kind of thing, obviously, but yeah, I could sort of see how like maybe somebody in the Disney department might have taken a look at this movie and was like, we should try something like that, like, I mean,
yeah.
As the pig becomes exhausted, a very stoned Fritz jumps out, grabs the pig's gun, and shoots the toilet, causing the water main to break and flooding everybody out of the apartment. The pigs chase Fritz down the street into a synagogue. Fritz manages to escape when the congregation gets up to celebrate the United States' decision to send more weapons into Israel.
Yeah.
Again, that was like, whoa.
Yeah, very political, this movie, like very 70s. It was like so 70s, so just like, what the fuck?
Aggressively political. And that's actually, so this is where I'm going to sort of quickly mention real quick that I'd say the major difference between this movie and the comic strip, based on what I sort of glimpsed, is that the comic strip by Robert Crumb is pretty much just like, it's a lot of sex and drugs, and it's like very, very like focused on that, like that aspect of it. I mean, Robert Crumb, his art was very transgressive and very like vulgar and sort of irreverent, and there would often be sort of like sort of fixations on scatological sort of aspects and things, and he was kind of, I think that because I was reading a little bit about this movie, and I think the director who made this movie sort of took the comic strip and made something a little bit more politically themed with it, because I don't feel like the comic strip, and again, this is just based on like sort of what I looked at and what I read, I feel like the comic strip was less politically oriented. So I guess they decided to take the comic strip and make something actually like sort of, smart with it. Even though when you watch the movie and you have no context to work with, it doesn't seem like, oh really, like, because it's true that like sort of the overall premise of this movie is this cat just likes to go around banging people, but really that's nothing compared to the actual comic though.
Okay.
So like the comic is really more like hardcore. I mean, yeah. So
Fritz makes it back to his dormitory where his roommates are too busy studying to pay attention to him. He decides to ditch his bore of a life and sets all of his notes and books on fire. The fire spreads throughout the dorm, finally setting the entire building ablaze.
Mm-hmm.
nuts.
Yeah, another 70s stereotype of, the college kid not wanting to go with the man or the system or whatever, ditching that whole thing.
Yeah, like, oh, you're just teaching me to be a cog in the machine, and I want to be my own person. I want to establish my independence, so to speak.
This movie was full of that. Like I've seen like when a lot of this 70s dialogue comes up and stuff, I'm like, I kind of don't even know what you're saying. And that's what I was feeling with this movie too.
It kind of beats you over the head with it. Like I definitely sympathize with that kind of attitude. I really do. Like I grew up, I mean, I was raised by people with that kind of attitude, so I get it and I understand it, but I definitely, like, it is pretty like, ugh, like another one of these speeches where he's like, talking about how much everything sucks. Like, there's definitely a time and place for that. It's just, I guess it's just not necessarily what I look for from an animated X-rated movie.
Yeah.
In a bar in Harlem, Fritz meets Duke the Crow at a pool table. After narrowly avoiding getting into a fight with the bartender, Duke invites Fritz to bug out, and they steal a car, which Fritz drives off a bridge, leading Duke to save his life by grabbing onto a railing.
Okay.
Yep.
That bar scene was kind of intense, because it's like at first he's there and he's starting to impress them, but then, like, of course he makes stupid mistake, which I've seen. I've actually seen people make this mistake before, where they refer to a black person as boy, which is,
is that what he said?
Which is, it's not really respectful to refer to anybody that way anyway, but like especially not like to a black person, considering that there is something of a history to that word. And so that, of course, resulted in a lot of chaos, and I'm guessing that it wasn't because he was racist, but more because of the fact that he just, he grew up in a particular time period or whatever, like. And so I think the film was trying to kind of like illuminate the fact that there is that a lot of these folks who really are for like pushing against the establishment and stuff are in their own ways out of touch,
Yeah, because he seemed like one of those just privileged college kids. Fritz was. It seemed like one of those type of guys.
Yeah, in a way, it kind of felt like his journey, like the journey that he kind of went through in this movie was almost like trying to kind of escape from the confines of his traditions,
Yeah.
The two arrive at the apartment of a drug dealer named Bertha, whose cannabis joints increase Fritz's libido. While fornicating with Bertha, he comes to the realization that he must tell the people about the revolution. He runs off into the city street and incites a riot, during which Duke is shot and killed by one of the pig officers.
Yeah, that was the most disturbing scene in the whole movie. That was really hard to watch. Like, because like suddenly, because up until that point the movie was like pretty humorous, and it kind of continued to be humorous for the most part, but then you get this really intense sequence where this particular character is executed by the police, and then it kind of goes into this internal sort of monologue where he's like bleeding out and having like this series of flashbacks of like, witnessing various other like racial related crimes, and the movie kind of dwells on that for a while, and then he kind of just dies really slowly and painfully, and it's just pretty gruesome, like, and it's like, whoa, what the fuck.
Right. Yeah.
Like, it was smart, but it was like, definitely something of a like slap to the face though for probably a lot of folks, I would imagine, watching this in the theater and smoking to high heaven, and then suddenly having to kind of like think about like the fact that, oh yeah, police brutality against like black people is pretty, like, it happens a lot. And so it was an interesting sort of way for the film to sort of like remind you of that reality, although it doesn't necessarily pull you out of the movie that much, because up to that point, like, you do kind of understand the character a little bit more. Like he's the only other character in the whole movie besides Fritz who gets any kind of development. So that was at least it was well done. It was just really brutal. That's all.
Yeah. It was wild.
Yeah.
Fritz hides in an alley where his older fox girlfriend, Winston Schwartz, finds him and drags him on a road trip to San Francisco.
Mm-hmm. And I will say before that the race riot was like a war because they fucking brought gunships in and dropped bombs on people and shot them up.
Yeah. 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 I mean, and they show all of it, you know, like it did feel like a war sequence, and even the sound design and everything, you know.
Yeah.
So, and also like the planes and stuff fly. I mean, that did happen in Tulsa, actually, the Tulsa incident where an entire black community was firebombed.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah, because one person decided to lie about being assaulted. I mean, that's the kind of shit that happens when people lie about things like that, and people do lie about that kind of shit. So, and it definitely happens a lot with again, not to like make it into a political talk, but it definitely happens a lot with black people where like a white woman will accuse a black person of rape or abuse. You know, I know that's probably not a word we're supposed to use is rape, you know, so, but yeah, like it and so that kind of thing happens, and it has happened, and it has resulted in stuff like the Tulsa incident. So I don't know, that was an interesting sort of parallel, I felt like. And I think that they did kind of point that out at a couple points too during that sequence. They made like a couple references to it. So
yeah. They're on a road trip. When their car runs out of gas in the middle of the desert, he decides to abandon her. He later meets up with Blue, a methamphetamine-addicted Nazi Brabant biker, along with Blue's horse girlfriend, Harriet. They take a ride into an underground hideout where two other revolutionaries, the lizard leader and John, a hooded snake, tell Fritz of their plan to blow up a power station.
Okay, yeah. So this I did not see coming, because up until this point in the movie, the film was pretty upbeat, you know, and then it takes a very desolate turn once Fritz decides to become a revolutionary.
Yeah, and before they joined that too, there was just a quick scene of a dog helping him out that had a bunch of chickens that he just beat to death because they were making a bunch of noise. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that was so ridiculous. Because yeah, their car is broken down. This guy with all these chickens show up. He beats the chickens to death, and then he looks at their car and he's like, "Oh, you guys are out of gas," and then he drives away. It's like, oh, what was the point of that? I mean, maybe it's supposed to highlight the excess of the 60s or something. I don't know.
I think it was like because they thought it was like he was making up all these words or something. But then the guy that actually knew something was like, "No, you city slickers, you're just out of gas."
Yeah, which is again like pretty funny. And actually, I like that kind of thing. Again, has happened to me. Somebody I know, they thought their car broke down, and then it turned out they just weren't looking at the gas gauge. I mean, that I've been in a vehicle. I've been in the vehicle of someone who's done that kind of thing. So it was
When Harriet tries to get Blue to leave with her to go to a Chinese restaurant, he hits her several times and ties her down with a chain. When Fritz attempts to break it up, the leader throws a candle in his face. Blue, John, and the lizard leader then throw Harriet onto a bed and assault her. After setting the dynamite at the power plant, Fritz suddenly has a change of heart and unsuccessfully attempts to remove it before being caught in the explosion.
okay. And so this is like the point. Oh, wasn't there like a musical intermission at one point?
Maybe.
Not that I remember. There was a few like just songs going throughout. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember there were like a couple points in the film where there was like a musical number, which it was cool, but it was like,
Yeah.
it didn't really have anything to do with the plot. So.
And I will say that scene where like they tie the horse lady up and shit was like intense. I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah,
What?
it was
It was
disturbing.
like, yeah, it was Nazi stuff and like white supremacy type shit. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, this movie throws all kinds of stuff at you, like it's sort of an emotional roller coaster ride. At one minute you're laughing, and then the next minute it's like you're witnessing these people trying to like do all this stuff, and it's like, oh man, this is messed up, So,
So yeah, he unsuccessful. Like their plan was he and to blow up a power plant, and he unsuccessfully stops it.
Yeah. Which, so that kind of leads to the climax.
I mean, I would say that was basically the climax, and then there's just the ending of him in the hospital. It was weird as fuck.
The ending is, again, kind of like Hansel and Gretel get baked. The ending is the main issue that I have with the movie. But,
just ends basically, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, what does Wikipedia have to say about the ending?
At a Los Angeles hospital, Harriet, disguised as a nun, and the girls from the New York park come to comfort him in what they believe to be his last moments. Fritz, after reciting the speech he used to pick up the girls from New York, suddenly becomes revitalized and has another orgy with the trio of girls, while Harriet watches in astonishment.
It all seemed like a dream sequence.
Yeah. Jeez.
It's like, I guess if you want to sort of follow that kind of trope, I mean, I don't know, that felt like an ending from a porno movie, and I don't know if that was the intention, but I wasn't super into it. It's like, maybe you could have cut those last 2 minutes off or so and just left the movie, or 3 minutes, however long that ending was, and just, I think the movie would have been good if it were 69 minutes long. It would have been the perfect length for a movie like Fritz the Cat. So.
Yeah, he was like in a full body cast and shit, and just tossed it off and started banging them midair too. They were like just jumping jumping on the bed midair banging.
Pretty much, there was a lot of bed bouncing and a lot of like boobs flying and bouncing around in the air and just tits everywhere. And then the movie ends.
Yeah,
it's kind of it. There was all racial issues. Israel, all that stuff, but boobs.
So weird.
And I guess that about summarizes the movie overall. It's pretty much just all about freedom, love, sex, and everything in between. And it was a movie that was made in the early 70s that I guess was a response to the 60s. And I don't know. I mean, I've seen a lot of movies like it that weren't animated, like Easy Rider and like other films like that were kind of just stream of conscious, like the plot just goes in whatever direction it goes in, and then like the people watch it and get stoned and think about it, and it's interesting and life-changing, and then we move on. It's kind of one of those types of movies, except it was animated.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. What were your overall thoughts on it, both of you guys?
I thought it was all right. I'm not the biggest fan of this style of animation.
Yeah.
So
go on.
that was my biggest thing, really. But I didn't expect it to go where it went after the whole race war. After that, I was not expecting that. Like I knew it was going to be like sex and drugs, but not all that.
Right.
Yeah.
That was wild.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
definitely did. Oh, go on.
No, I was just like same. I was like definitely surprised by this for sure. I was like, it was intense, way more intense than I thought it was gonna be for an animated '70s movie.
It really was intense, actually. It definitely takes you on a bit of a roller coaster, like I said, because on one hand you got the free love aspect, and you have the character kind of pursuing this whole wish fulfillment thing, going through this various like sex scenarios, but then you have these really heavy-handed political themes, sort of not necessarily weighing it down, but kind of tied into that, which in a way sort of, I mean, I don't want to say it takes away from the movie. It's just, I would imagine though that the heavy-handed political stuff won't be everybody's cup of tea for folks who are watching this expecting sort of a upbeat sex comedy.
Yeah.
Very hard tonal shift.
Yep.
Yeah. And when this movie gets dark and violent, it gets dark and it gets violent.
Yes.
Like hideously so.
Mhm.
And the animation is, it is a low budget movie. And I mean, I'm always going to applaud hand-drawn animation over 3D. But I will say that, yeah, I mean, I would agree that the illustrations are pretty rough around the edges. And I have seen several of Ralph Bakshi's other films, and I like a lot of them. And I do feel like his animation style got improved after Fritz the Cat, because when you look at stuff like Heavy Traffic and Wizards and stuff like that, he definitely becomes a little bit more comfortable with that style of animation. But this is a pretty rough prototype, I guess.
Yeah, and I'd say like also the sound design, like just the voice acting and stuff, was a little hard to decipher sometimes. It sounded like they weren't in the best recording studio or in any recording studio. They're like in a tin can or something.
They could have been recording in a park for all we know.
Right.
They could have just gotten stoned. Maybe they didn't even have a script. Maybe they just got stoned and then recorded shit. And
honestly, I had
animated
that
around
thought.
it.
That thought did go through my mind for some of these scenes. That was like, is that what they're doing? Like,
yeah. There are a few scenes actually where the characters, the way they talk, the characters in this movie don't talk like the way, like they don't talk in the way I've ever heard people talk. A lot of people a lot of conversations in this movie feel a lot more casual and sort of just out of nowhere, like sort of not a lot of it doesn't feel scripted. So I would consider this probably more of an experimental movie, actually. Because I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if that's what because a lot of movies from this time period did that, where they would just go with it. They wouldn't write a script. They would just go with whatever people felt like talking about and then make a movie out of it.
Mhm.
Many movies did that sort of thing around this time. And I wouldn't be surprised if this was like an animated equivalent of that, which kind of makes it a unique time capsule. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot to say about it. It's a good movie to get stoned to. I'll give it that. It's a lot of fun. But it definitely won't be for everybody.
Yeah.
To say the least. So. Yeah. I don't know. Do either you have any more thoughts on it? I'll try not to interrupt. I know I've been doing that a lot. So.
No, that's fine. No, not really. No, we more or less covered it. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So I don't know. Would you guys say overall that it was still like pretty fun despite the dark material?
Yeah. It was a good watch.
Yeah.
For at least something to see. I mean, of a different time and
Yeah.
Hard to put into words, honestly. Just
I guess I'm kind of the odd one out this time. I mean, every time we record one of these episodes, one of us is always chooses a movie that's kind of different from the other two. Like, I don't know, the time that I chose Quigley, I remember like the other two movies you guys chose were kind of like more or less like in tune with what was going on, whereas mine was just a cheesy Christian kids movie. But now I've chosen a weird animated drug movie, and I'm like, oh shit.
It's good to have variety, though.
It is, yeah.
And I've wanted to see this for a while.
Yeah.
So.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of folks have heard of it now that I think about it. Which is interesting because I sort of feel like this movie was something of a benchmark. Like I personally can't imagine The Simpsons existing if this movie hadn't already existed. You know,
it did
like
pretty well at the box office too.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. It was a success considering how low budget it was. Like that's pretty amazing.
Budget was 700,000. It made 90 million.
Whoa, that's 70s money too. Wow.
Oh my god. And just that much for an animated movie. Like, whoa.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's fucking wild.
I mean, when you put that into context, it kind of makes it like easy to appreciate it even more. It's kind of like how I felt when I found out that all the cheesy CGI in the fountain was actually practical effects. Suddenly I was like, whoa, that makes me like the movie like 10 times more, because I thought that was just stupid bullshit CGI with Darren Aronofsky doing whatever he wants. But no, it turned out Hugh Jackman actually did sit in a bubble. You know, like, it's interesting how sometimes when you find out something about the making of a particular movie, it makes you like it more, you know.
Yeah,
that's wild.
But like, for an animated movie that was made for less than $1 million, like, I mean, was B Movie made for $1 million? I don't know. Maybe that was low budget too, but who knows?
CG movies are expensive, so I'd have to imagine yes.
Yeah. I mean, overall, like, it was definitely an interesting movie, and it was especially interesting to watch as an adult, because watching it at whatever age I did, all of it went over my head. But I'd probably give it like a 3 or a 4. I mean, personally.
Yeah, I'd give it a 3.
Cool.
Yeah, I'd give it a 3 as well. It was good.
Yeah, I'm glad I chose it. I didn't really know what to expect. I mean, even though I had seen it before, all I really had going on was the like X-rated animated sort of novelty of it. I didn't expect it to be as political as it was. So, you know, but at least it didn't have aliens in it, which is more than I could say for the movie we're about to talk about next.
Yeah.
I know that was kind of a lame segue, but
it was a hard one for this one.
Yeah, I was trying to make a segue for all 3, but I just couldn't think. At this point, I'm like, what did this last? Oh yeah, aliens. Here we go. All right, I'll go with that. Okay, so aliens. So what was the movie that you picked?
It was Starleaf.
All right. And how would you describe Starleaf?
Joe Rogan's wet dream.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
I was gonna mention that shit too. Yeah. Yeah.
No, but you're pretty much right.
Totally gonna say mention him.
It's got his fucking company in it in my box.
Yeah, that On It shit. Is he gonna make a cameo? I was half expecting to make a cameo, or at least make a producer credit.
Yeah. I looked through the producers. I was like, they can't allow that, can they? But I guess they did.
Yeah.
I was actually kind of disappointed that he didn't show up in it.
Right. I mean, I used to listen to him a lot, but not so much since he moved to Spotify. But
I know most people gave up after that, because you know, nobody wants to listen to him on Spotify. Everybody was more into the YouTube shit. I mean,
yeah.
Oh, wow. I actually haven't really listened to him, but I'm familiar with who he is. I know a lot of people who really are into him, and a few people have like sent me clips of like a particular like I've gotten into like a million different conversations about God knows what with random people on the internet and random friends, and then they'll send me like a Joe Rogan clip and be like, "Oh, what do you think of this?" And then I'll watch it and I'll be like, "Oh, I think of this." And blah, blah, blah. And that's really my extent of Joe Rogan. The only other thing I can think of that he did was the whole Carlos Mencia when he went after him and was like, "You steal jokes."
Stealing. Yeah, yeah.
I actually appreciated that because honestly, like Carlos Mencia does kind of suck when it comes to doing that kind of thing, but whatever.
Yeah. He straight up stole jokes. He admitted it too. And so.
Yeah, he's a thief. Fuck him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what inspired you to choose Star
Leaf.
I keep wanting to call it Starflower. Star Leaf.
It could be either or.
All right.
Yeah.
That works.
Yeah.
So I follow this guy on Instagram called Holiday Horrors, and every year he posts a stack of 420 movies. I'm like, never heard of that one. This one caught my eye. Aliens and weed. Okay, I'm in.
Yeah. It's a winning combination.
Well,
except
not in this case.
yeah, no, not entirely.
I'm just gonna read the wiki.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. There's
film,
not a whole lot to say. I mean, it's
not really. The film begins with Tim and James as Marine snipers in the Hindu Kush mountain range of Afghanistan on a mission to assassinate a high-ranking Taliban leader. Their mission is soon compromised when a young child enters the scene, forcing James to take a risky shot that accidentally leads to the child's death.
Yeah, which of course I gasped at because I was, so stoned that I was like, "Whoa, this movie is heavy." But I don't know. Maybe that. I mean, I think honestly, like I was in the right state of mind when I watched this. I'll just leave it at that. Anyway, go on.
Because I wasn't.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh man, this is like war shit and stuff. This movie's gonna go to places." Like that's the attitude that I was.
Yeah. 1 year later, Tim and his girlfriend Martha are on a road trip with James to La Push, Washington.
Does it say 1 year later?
I
thought it said 2 on the crawl, like 2 years later.
I think it did too.
I don't even remember any
no,
words.
it said 2 tours later.
Okay.
I think. Okay. I don't know. Some increment of time later.
Fast forward.
Tim is hoping the trip to the beach will help James with his PTSD. They stop at a mysterious biker's house named Seth Guardrail Slaughter. That's what this guy's name was.
Ah, I didn't get that at all. I missed.
Yeah, I caught that.
Wait, what was the last part? The
Seth Guardrail Slaughter.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't remember that was his name. So
No.
It was barely talked about.
Yeah, I didn't even know he had a name. Like I remember.
I didn't either. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, wait a minute. No, I take that back. I think I figured out his name when I looked at the credits. So never mind. I just didn't figure out his name when I was actually watching the movie itself. I just figured it out once the credits rolled. So never mind.
Yeah, I think I went back because I was like, "What?
Yeah.
So they stop at the biker's house to get a map that will lead them to a legendary strain of extraterrestrial cannabis growing in the Olympic Mountains.
Yeah, it's magic starleaf.
Yeah. The trio use the map to navigate their way towards finding the Garden of Whedon,
Mhm.
A lot of weed puns in this one.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. That's a lot of the dialogue consists of weed puns.
Eventually, they find the extraterrestrial marijuana, and Martha proceeds to violate the first rule of the Grove: no cell phone usage that could give away the GPS coordinates of the secret stash.
Yeah.
it's
Well,
like
isn't that because she's like an Instagram star or something?
something, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's other rules: no pictures. You got to destroy the map. Which they
Yeah.
seemed like they only had one because they like brought it out in that case.
Yeah. Yep.
But
Yeah.
And no taking anything back out of
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. You already know they're going to break the rules, but
Yeah.
they still, make a point to establish them. So
Yeah, once they're established, you know they're gonna break them.
yeah, because these characters are like, you can tell they're a little bit reckless, like, although I will say, and maybe, I mean, you guys can feel differently if you want, but actually I sort of grew to like these characters a little bit. Like at first I was mostly just annoyed by them, like, oh my god, I want these people to die, like, so
Right.
bad.
Yeah. Like the
these people
girlfriend
suck.
was obsessed with Twilight and shit.
Yeah, I was just like, these people are just awful. But then eventually I was like, actually I do kind of care about them a little bit. Like, and I kind of felt bad like for wanting them to die at the beginning of the movie. And I was like, oh damn, felt guilty over what I wanted to have happen to fictional characters. I don't know. Anyway.
Around a campfire, they begin to smoke the Starleaf and experience a wide range of hallucinations and visions, which I hate when movies do that with weed.
Yeah.
Hallucinations are just no.
Doesn't happen. I thought the same thing too. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I kind of gave it a little bit of a pass if it is really extraterrestrial weed, but still, in any other movie, like, no, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're somebody who tends to have like a little bit of a, I guess, like paranoid sort of demeanor, then if you're really stoned, then you can sort of come to conclusions that aren't necessarily true.
Yeah,
I would imagine, but that's probably about the closest thing you can come to hallucinating if you're under the influence. And the way this film depicted the hallucinations, it was way too vivid.
Yeah, like they're literally taking psychedelics.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's like, okay, obviously what you guys are smoking is not weed, because or I guess it's alien weed.
I mean, they might as well have taken mushrooms.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know, maybe. But what would this movie be called if they took mushrooms? I wonder. Like, shroom leaf? I don't know. Like,
Star shroom.
Yeah,
it would have to have the star. Yeah.
Yeah, the star really makes the title. Because when you mentioned the title, I was like, "Ooh, star!" Like that was. I didn't even think about the leaf part, which is why I keep thinking it's called Starflower. I was like, "Ooh, this is about stars." So.
There is a horror movie called Shrooms, though, which I was contemplating picking a while back.
Oh yeah.
Oh, maybe we'll get to it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that. Yeah. But I don't know. I would. I'd watch a shroom themed horror movie any day.
Yeah.
So I'll watch a shroom theme anything any day.
They start to hallucinate and have visions. James starts to hear voices, which are Afghan voices, as his PTSD begins to manifest violently. Then a UFO flies overhead. The group cannot tell if these things are real or just side effects of smoking Starleaf. To their shock, a forest ranger named Ranger Dave suddenly enters their campsite as well. Joining them around the campfire, Ranger Dave proceeds to give an awkward and mysterious oral history of the Starleaf and what its spiritual effects are on those who smoke it.
Yeah, so this guy is kind of like a what do you call him? I mean, as soon as I saw him, I was like, oh man, what a buzzkill, you know.
Yeah.
But then he went all, but then he kind of was like, oh, like then he started doing a Deputy Winston type of thing, where he was like, oh, maybe this guy is kind of chill, you know. But then he ended up kind of being the main sort of,
It's like their spirit
component.
guide kind of thing.
Yeah, which, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but like having a ranger be a spirit guide when you're high is kind of terrifying. Like, I don't really like that idea.
Yeah, that was weird.
I kept calling him officer instead of ranger.
Yeah. I'm just like, I don't know. I wasn't into that artistic choice.
Any figure of authority in that situation is not good.
Yeah. Even though they're in a legal state.
Yeah, and look, that's one thing about the 3 movies that we chose are different legalities of weed too. Is obviously it was illegal in Fritz the Cat. Hansel and Gretel was semi-legal, and this one it is legal.
Yeah, exactly. So that kind of makes I'd say out of the 3 films, this one, and this is a little bit rare considering the type of movies that you usually choose, Zach. But I'd say out of the 3 films we chose in this episode, this one was probably the easiest to digest. I mean, no pun intended. But yeah.
And one of the funnier moments I thought when they were tripping out was like the girlfriend was like, oh, he only jacks off to Asian furry porn now. about his that Tim character, and she looks to the main guy. He's like, do you like Asian furry porn? And he was out of it. He like couldn't speak anything. He's like, and then and then she's like, of course you do. Everyone does. Everyone likes Asian furry porn. And then he started hallucinating like an Asian girl dancing.
That was funny. That made me laugh.
Yeah.
And also in the back of my head, I was thinking, if this guy likes furry porn, I mean, if he can live without the Asian side, then I don't know. Fritz the Cat might be the movie for him.
Yeah, right up his alley. Yeah.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I'm sorry to a little bit off topic, but did you know that there's a sequel to Fritz the Cat?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I did not.
When I was in high school, a particular person asked me asked me for recommendations for like fucked up weird movies, and I was like, oh, I remember Fritz the Cat was pretty out there. And he looked it up, and he couldn't find the first one, but he could find the sequel for some reason. And I had never seen the sequel, but he watched the sequel and told me all about it, and it sounded really messed up. So I was like, oh god, I gotta watch the sequel. But then I don't think I ever did. So
damn.
But I think, but it was actually a class that you were in, Zach, so you might remember who I'm talking about. So.
Maybe.
Yeah. Okay, well, maybe not. Anyway. So go on, Starleaf. So Ranger, Spirit Guide, yeah.
There's not a whole lot left to this wiki.
Oh yeah. So yeah, basically the rest of the movie is about it ends up kind of being about one character. Like the other 2 characters kind of just get ditched. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Strange sequence of events.
Yeah, at this point it's just like goes off the rail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to try to summarize it on your own, or would you like to?
I'll read what they got here, and we can fill in the blanks, I guess.
Okay.
Later that night, James is woken by mysterious orbs floating inside his tent. Along with the rest of the group, they experience multiple alien encounters that force them to flee the campsite. That was a pretty good chunk right there.
Yeah, that was kind of the main part of the movie, was the whole alien thing. So.
Yeah. Trying to remember what all happened then.
Let's see. There was a chase scene. There was a scene where the main character has a flashback. He ends up digging out a rifle. And then he, at one point, he thinks that he may have murdered his friends,
Some very bad CG blood.
Yeah, the worst. I was like, oh man.
Yeah, it was
couldn't
so
even
bad.
afford squibs.
Yeah, there was one point where the ranger guy's hand went over the blood, and the blood was still on.
Really?
Showed through it.
Yeah.
Uh,
That sucks.
yeah, and the chase scene was pretty shitty too. They were driving in the Prius.
Yeah.
There was like some feral lady thing that like jumped on top of them.
Yeah, what was that?
It turned out to be the girl herself.
Yeah, later on it was like the girl, like what the fuck?
Oh yeah,
and
there was
and also later on he was looking at it and it was an actual roadkill that would look so badly CGI'd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
There was
then
a lot of really shitty CGI.
And the things that stopped him too were just two tiny logs.
Yeah.
Like I don't see why they couldn't have just, because they were two strong army men. Why couldn't they just get out and like move the logs out of the way? They were tiny logs.
That was
exactly
dumb.
what I was thinking.
Yeah, like I don't know. There were a lot of sorry. There were a lot of inexplicable things that happened in the last act that I didn't really understand. Like sorry, I gotta move my table a little bit. It's one of the there were I think the biggest issue with the movie though had a lot to do with just the fact that when it came to like how everything unfolded and the way like it all kind of like collapsed and stuff, like how everything just sort of went berserk all at once and it went into like the whole interdimensional type of stuff. There wasn't really any sort of logic to it. There were no sort of pre-established like rules or anything. It was just kind of the movie just doing whatever the hell it wanted. And
like, insert trip scene here.
Yeah,
exactly.
Stuff was happening.
Yeah, and that kind of thing can work to a point, but with a movie like this though, it can actually kind of become a little bit of an irritant, only because if you spend like half an hour developing these characters and trying to like make us like them, and then suddenly there's like no logic and the characters can just either die or disappear or switch alliances or whatever the hell, like
die and then come back because he was holding a stick and they weren't dead. It was just him hallucinating. I don't.
Yeah. Eventually, he kind of just stopped caring.
Yeah.
You know? And it's just which is a bummer because I actually did care about the characters at the beginning, and so then they go on this weird like journey, like this trip. And it's like, okay, well, I guess these characters are just stuck in the Twilight Zone then, and But anyway,
there's another movie that does this whole tripping in the woods thing better. The Ritual. I don't know if either of you have seen that.
I love The Ritual.
So good.
Yeah.
It does this whole trip thing way better, and it has a point to it.
It does. I mean, this movie. It kind of has a point, but it's just not a very firm one, whereas The Ritual, the point is very smartly emphasized. Like you can understand what the movie is about if you're paying attention.
Yeah.
Whereas this movie, if you're paying attention, there's no the movie just kind of changes the rules. So
the only real reason for it was to reiterate that he has PTSD.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
That was the basic plot is he has PTSD, he's trying to shake.
Yeah. Although I did do you want to read the rest of the plot summary before I share my thoughts on it?
Yeah, I can do that. Soon it's discovered that Tim has stolen some Starleaf clippings, a major violation of the rules governing the Starleaf Grove, and the reason behind the growing alien interference. The group is split up, escaping into the woods. James suffers multiple PTSD flashbacks. Ranger Dave and Seth Guardrail Slaughter intervene on his behalf, offering him an opportunity to redeem himself and his friends if he's willing to return Tim's stolen Starleaf back to the Grove, despite the alien threat. James rises to the occasion, facing his most troubling fears, and returns the Starleaf successfully, allowing him to process fully his PTSD experience in Afghanistan and leading to much needed healing for himself and Tim. The film ends with the group finally making it to the beach and surfing the ocean waves.
Which is pretty much what the main character wanted to do from the beginning. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it kind of was it was all a dream ending.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it just
probably
it was weird. Like I couldn't tell. Was it a dream or just time travel? I don't know. Because the hippie was using magic on the aliens.
Oh, yeah.
He was blasting them with like psychic powers or some shit, and then
you just said it was from like a Jewish proverbs or something.
Yeah. Yeah, but then they wake up about like the main Jake wakes up in the back of the car at the what was his name? Slaughter Dave biker chain.
Seth Guardrail Slaughter.
Yeah. Seth Guard Slaughter chains. Okay, well, I'll tell you what I liked about this movie, and I'll tell you what I didn't like about this movie. I think. Well, okay, I'll start with what I didn't like. I think the problem with this movie, the main problem with this movie, is that they're trying to say something a little bit deeper than the average genre film. I think that the people who made this movie are trying to say something. They're trying to indicate something about what it means to experience trauma and what it means to live with trauma and what it means to not let the trauma of the past drag you down. Which I actually do like that message. Like I think that the movie doesn't make it very clear, but I think that the movie is trying to say something about like what it means to let go of the things that you're afraid of.
Yeah, because they implied like they were self-medicating with his prescription and the weed, but it ends up resolving with him Jake saying, "I forgive you," or "We're forgiven," or because he was the other guy was the spotter for the sniper, and it was like, "It's not your fault." I know
Exactly.
it's not your fault.
Yeah, and I mean these characters. I mean, once you actually do get to like them, you can sort of you can understand like sort of the guilty feelings of the main character, and you can understand why like an experience like this can be kind of a rough sort of. You can understand why it's rough going, but the movie it does try to kind of like establish that he had to go on a journey. With this magical weed in order to kind of have that epiphany. And then once he has that epiphany, it's like, okay, now we can chill out and go to the beach and party and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, in my opinion, like unless you are with the right combination of people or you are with, or if you are like under the right series of circumstances, it's kind of difficult to have that kind of revelation just from smoking weed. But obviously this is magical alien weed, so I guess the you got to stretch your disbelief when it comes to this kind of, and that's all good.
Yeah, and I'll say like too, like the whole thing was just Jake was the only one that remembered any of that because they come like it ends with him just them returning back to that guy's place. And I feel it made a little less sense that Tim was like, okay, like, why are you saying this out of the blue now? Why are we being forgiven? Why aren't we still going to get this weed to have a good time?
Yeah.
So let's get out of here, man. After just saying, that's all. He was like, I forgive you. It wasn't your fault. And Tim was like, that's all I wanted to hear you say. That's all I wanted to hear you say. I was like, okay.
And that actually, I'm glad you said that because that kind of brings me to my main problem with this movie, and that is that like the film actually does take the time to make the other two characters, the girlfriend and the boyfriend. It does kind of make you like them at a certain point. It does kind of make you sort of understand them a little bit. I would have liked to have seen them go on that kind of journey as well.
Yeah.
I felt like this movie was mostly just focused on the guy that was traumatized, and although I can understand why it was focused on him because he was the one who was most in need of this kind of revelation, I just felt like it was just kind of a bummer. It was kind of disappointing. It's like,
yeah, and I mean, it kind of does do that with those other two, but it invalidates it completely with the ending of it
yeah,
being a dream for everyone but Jake or whatever.
yeah, exactly. And I don't really even understand why they did that, because it didn't need to be a dream. It could have been just these people went on a really serious trip, and
Yeah, and then just
then we can
made it out of the forest.
yeah, and then they go to the beach, and that's that. They did the Starleaf shit, and life goes on. Like, they had their mind blowing trip or whatever. I don't know. I think that it was a little bit of a missed opportunity, but I do understand. I do get what they were going for. I'm glad the movie was only 70 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm glad that it didn't overstay its welcome.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys were probably pissed off at the ending and all that, and I was
Yeah.
a little bit too, to be honest, because it was unnecessary. But I don't know. In the end, I actually did kind of enjoy it because I mean, I didn't end up pausing it. I didn't end up like getting distracted or anything, which is kind of rare for these types of movies. When I watch a movie like this, oftentimes it'll hit a slow spot, and then I'll pause it and I'll use the bathroom, and then I'll like pick up a book, or I'll like read an email or something, and then I'll get distracted and I'll be, oh shit, I got to finish this movie, and then I finish it.
I watched on Tubi that had ads. I mean,
oh yeah, yeah. I watched it on Amazon because it was free on Prime, but
was that the one that was free on? I watched one of these.
all of them were free on Prime, actually.
Oh,
So
I
was
didn't
like,
see
whoa,
this.
sweet.
I didn't
I'm
know. This
golden.
is, this was definitely the one I didn't see on Prime. I watched the other two on it. Huh.
Okay.
Yeah,
the
when
one
I
watched-
Googled it, it didn't come up for me, huh?
Okay,
Damn
that's weird.
Google.
Yeah, it showed up for me. I don't know why. I looked it up on Amazon Prime. Yeah, although it did say Starleaf -clean,
Yeah.
which I don't know what that meant, but
Yeah. I almost watched the Tubi one because it said that,
yeah.
Huh.
but the run times were pretty much the same.
Yeah, that's what I observed too. Is I looked it up on Tubi and it said the same runtime. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna hope that nothing was altered, and didn't seem like anything was. I mean, everybody swore and there was blood and shit. So, and there was. I mean, I don't know if there was nudity. I mean, I usually don't notice nudity, strangely enough. So
There was not. Because
what?
I saw it on Tubi and there was no nudity. No.
Okay, yeah. I don't know. I mean, maybe the one I watched was edited or altered or censored or whatever, but I mean, if it was, I wasn't distracted by it. And I don't know. I still enjoyed it, honestly. I mean, I'm glad I watched it. It was an interesting choice. Wasn't ordinarily the kind of thing I mean, I would say this is really more of a comedy than it is a horror movie. It doesn't really become a horror movie until about the last like 20 minutes or so. And then even then it doesn't really go that far. It's like, oh shit, did he kill his friends? Uh-oh. That's like the most horrific thing about it.
Yeah.
And then it turned out he didn't, so it's like, oh, okay, so I guess that's fine, he's okay. And then I don't know, I enjoyed it a lot, though. I mean, it was definitely a bad movie. It was definitely cheap, and there were a lot of issues with it, and like I said, the ending pissed me off, but I like the message, I like the acting, I like the characters, and I don't know, it kept me interested. So, although I was really, really stoned though when I watched it, like really, really, like that. Out of the three films, this is probably the one I was most stoned for, and so maybe that had something to do with it. But yeah, I'd give it like a 2 or 3 personally, but that's just me. Maybe I'm crazy.
Yeah, I didn't like it really that much. I'll give it that it did have a good message of like trying for PTSD, confronting it instead of, medicating it away is, the right way to do it. Medication, of course, is needed and helpful.
Yeah,
but,
very.
Confronting and coming to terms with it is the also needed.
That's the key issue. I think that's the key component is to confront it. So
But other than that, like everything just was weird and didn't just disjointed. Didn't it was a good runtime, so there was that.
Yeah.
And then just the on it. The product placement was just so blatant. I was just like, Joe Rogan, where are you? Like, because his shirt too, because he was wearing an on it shirt the whole time, and you could see the logo through half the movie. I was just like, come on.
Yeah, I miss that stuff, but I can imagine if I were aware of it, it would piss the shit out of me, and I'd probably hate the movie because of it. So.
And then the ending, of course, lame. So I'll give it like a 1.5 for me, honestly.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's what I gave it to, 1.5. Like, I'll give you my letterbox review. I said a good message and a shitty movie.
Yep, there you go. That sums it up.
Yeah,
nice. Yeah.
I was expecting it to be more of like one of these hidden gem horror movies, but I should have known better.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as much as I liked it, it's not the type of. I'm not gonna be like, oh, you want to see a good movie?
No.
Never.
Check out the fucking Starleaf. I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, for like a nice little time, by myself in my room, home alone, enjoying, the time I have, the 70-minute runtime, watching a stupid movie. It delivered in my case. So
yeah, there you go. That's good at least.
Yeah. And then I watched the fucking Wong Kar-wai movie afterward. I don't know what I was thinking. So, which I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He's like a Hong Kong filmmaker. But
might have.
Okay, he did Chungking Express.
Yeah.
I bought I decided to buy the Criterion box set, which is the most ridiculous thing ever. I'll drag it out because like this thing is so ridiculous. So this is what it looks like, and it's all fanciful. He's like a Hong Kong filmmaker, and it took me like a ridiculous amount of time to even figure out how to open this thing because like I couldn't even find the fucking sleeve. It turned out, oh, it's behind this. Oh yeah, I have to unfold this thing, and then what do I get? Oh, more things that I have to unfold. It's like, what the hell is all this shit?
It's a puzzle.
It's like it unfolds with all this stuff. Yeah, it's like this big, complicated. It's like, what in the world?
That's
like,
crazy. Wow.
It's like they're.
I mean, I guess I'm not surprised because I actually did spend like a decent amount of money for it. But holy crap! And then this book, it comes with like this big, thick book, which is like heavier than I am, and the pages are thick. Like they're like these weird pages. Like, look at this shit. Like you can't even. Like, what in the world? Like, the pages actually open up. And then as if that's not crazy enough, you get the fucking, look at this thing. So this is where the discs are. And then you open it up, and it's like two people's faces. And, okay, so I remember you were talking about how you didn't like how the discs are like how certain box sets come in, like the discs come in sleeves or whatever. Oh, my God, you would hate this one. Because check this shit out. So, like, you open it up, and like they're like barely even in there. They're like floating discs. And it took me almost 10 minutes to even find all the discs. There's like eight movies or something in this. And like it turns out you have to like unfold them and like I don't even know. Like you have to like unfold them in a weird way. And like then there's like more discs behind that. And then there's like more discs. It's like, what in the world is all this shit?
Oh wow!
So that's what I did after I watched Starleaf. Was I unsolved this puzzle, and then I watched Chungking Express. So yeah, that was, and that was a good movie. So
that's funny.
Yeah, good times.
You clip that and put it up as an unboxing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I should have done that. Damn.
Yeah.
I'll cut it up if you want.
Yeah, do it. That'd be great.
Yeah, either that or whatever, But yeah, that was my Wong Kar-wai experience.
Have you seen the Fellini set they did? Sorry, I'm gonna go off on a rant.
I have, and that's even more ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I have that one as well. Hold on just a sec.
Yeah.
I actually bought it a lot because I took advantage of the half price off sale, and I also had gift points. Hold on.
I have no idea of either of these things.
The Fellini box set's bigger than my entire head. Look at this
Yeah.
thing. Like, I can't even fit this whole thing in the screen. Like what in the
Wow.
world? And then you open it up and there's like 20 different booklets and shit. And then you got this big box and then you got another box and it's like, what is this, Yahtzee? Like, crazy. But again, the movies are awesome and really it's worth watching. It's worth getting for the movies anyway, so it doesn't even matter. But still, like I've watched at least 4 of these Fellini movies. I watched Le Dolce Vita. I watched Satyricon. I've watched several of these and I really love them. But damn, like these box sets are just out of control, you know. Anyway, so there was my sort of tangent about what I did the same day that I watched Starly. Anyway.
Yep.
So how's life? All right, so I guess that just about does it for this episode. I mean, unless you want to cut ahead to this part. Yeah, I guess that just about does it for this episode. I'm glad that you enjoyed our 420 special. I hope you enjoyed our reviews of Starleaf, Fritz the Cat, and
Hansel and Gretel get baked.
Yeah. I hope you enjoyed what we had to say about these 3 pictures, these 3 productions. And
what do we got coming up next week or next episode?
Oh yeah, next time we're gonna talk about fucking Double Dragon, the Mika Droid beneath Disco Club Layla. Ooh, I remember the title.
Nico Droid Robokill.
Oh yeah, Mika Droid Robokill. Whoops. Which did I miss the Robokill part? Yeah. Mika Droid Robokill.
At least that's what I've written down. I don't know.
Yeah. Mika Droid Robokill under Disco Club Layla. And the
Stupids.
The Stupids, yeah. I keep wanting to call it the Idiots, but no, that's a different movie. We're not watching that one, I promise. That's like Lars von Trier shit, you know. So yeah, that's speaking of getting stoned, that's you need more than just pot to watch that one. Oh my god. All right, well, have a good night, folks. Lots of love and enjoy your February break, which will only last a day, and then afterwards you're gonna have to return to reality and be a normal
February
or April. I mean, shit, I'm getting the months smart. The months mixed up. So, yeah, April. So see ya.
Bye.
Bye.